Listen, I know what you're thinking. Another sob story about how we Korthani misjudged the humans, right? Well, buckle up because this one's different. This one's about how we accidentally turned a single human into our greatest ally, and then watched their entire species respond with the kind of gratitude that makes grown Korthani weep green tears. My name is Vex Tanner, and I was the navigation officer aboard the merchant vessel Starlight Dancer when we first encountered the human. Not encountered, really. More like rescued. Though at the time, none of us knew we were signing up for the most consequential rescue mission in galactic history. It started on a Tuesday. Or what humans call Tuesday. We Korthani don't really do weekdays, but apparently humans are obsessed with dividing their time into neat little boxes. Anyway, we were hauling a cargo of rare minerals from the outer rim when our sensors picked up a distress signal from a tiny escape pod drifting in the void. "Captain Dren," I called out, my voice echoing through the bridge. "We've got a life sign reading from that pod. Looks like someone's alive in there." Captain Dren, a grizzled old Korthani with more scars than sense, scratched his purple chin. "What species?" "Unknown, sir. The biosignature doesn't match anything in our database." He sighed, the sound like air escaping from a punctured hull. "Well, we can't just leave them to die." Tractor beam it in. That's when we met her. Dr. Maya Reeves, a human xenobiologist who'd been studying the migration patterns of space whales when her research vessel was attacked by pirates. She was alone, scared and running out of oxygen when we found her. But here's the thing about humans that we didn't know yet. They bounce back faster than a rubber ball on a trampoline. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking as she stepped out of the decontamination chamber. "I thought I was going to die out there." Our ship's medic, Grix Hollow, ran a full scan on her. "Fascinating," he muttered, studying the readings. "This species has remarkable resilience. Her cellular structure actually adapted to the low oxygen environment." Maya laughed, though it sounded more like a sob. "Yeah, well, desperation makes you creative. We should have dropped her off at the nearest space station, standard protocol." But Maya had something that caught our attention: knowledge. She'd been studying the space whales' migration routes, and those routes happened to pass through some of the most dangerous pirate territories in the sector. "I can help you," she offered during dinner. "I know these shipping lanes better than anyone. The whales have been using them for thousands of years. They know the safe passages." Captain Dren raised an eyebrow. "And what do you want in return?" "Message to Kepler Station. I need to get word to my colleagues that I'm alive." Seemed fair enough. What could go wrong, right? Oh, how naive we were. 3 days later, we found out exactly what could go wrong. The Vrakken Syndicate, the most ruthless pirate organization in the sector, had been tracking us. They'd somehow figured out that we were carrying a human, and apparently, humans were worth their weight in quantum crystals on the black market. "Captain," our communications officer, Zara Kane, called out urgently. "We've got 12 Vrakken ships coming in fast. They're demanding we surrender the human." Maya's face went pale. "They're here because of me?" "Looks like it," Captain Dren said grimly. "Humans are apparently quite the commodity." The Vrakken ships surrounded us like wolves circling prey. Their leader, a scarred Vrakken named Korth Vex, appeared on our view screen with that typical pirate swagger. "Surrender the human, and we'll let you live," he snarled. "Refuse, and we'll blast you out of the void." Captain Dren looked at Maya, then at his crew. We all knew what he was thinking. One human wasn't worth the lives of his entire crew. It was simple math. But Maya stepped forward before anyone could speak. "I'll go with them," she said quietly. "I won't let you all die because of me." That's when something unexpected happened. Our engineer, Vex, stood up. "No," he said firmly, "we don't abandon our own." "But she's not one of us," someone muttered. "She is now," Captain Dren declared, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "She's crew. And we don't abandon crew." The Vrakken ships opened fire. Our shields held, but barely. We were outgunned, outnumbered, and outmatched. But here's where things get interesting. Maya wasn't just sitting there wringing her hands like a damsel in distress. She was studying our weapon systems, our shield configurations, our entire tactical setup. "Your firing pattern is too predictable," she said suddenly. "The Vrakken are anticipating your moves. What do you suggest?" Captain Dren asked. Maya grinned, and for the first time I saw that spark of ingenuity that would later become legendary among the Korthani. Ever heard of the Crazy Ivan maneuver? None of us had. But 30 seconds later, we were executing the most insane tactical maneuver I'd ever seen. Maya had us kill our engines, flip our ship completely around, and fire all weapons while spinning like a top. It was madness. It was brilliant. It was completely, utterly human. The Vrakken ships weren't expecting it. We took out 3 of them before they could react, but we were still outnumbered. And our shields were failing fast. "This is it," Captain Dren said grimly. "It's been an honor serving with you all." That's when the cavalry arrived. And by cavalry, I mean the entire human fleet that had been searching for Maya for the past week. 12 massive human warships dropped out of hyperspace like avenging angels. Their leader, Admiral Jackstone, came on the comm with a voice like gravel in a cement mixer. "This is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to release our people and surrender, or we turn you into space dust." The Vrakken ships scattered like startled fish. Korth Vex's final transmission was a string of curses that would make a cargo hauler blush. After the dust settled, Admiral Stone himself came aboard our ship. He was a tall, imposing human with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. "Captain Dren," he said, extending his hand, "I understand you and your crew risked everything to protect one of ours. She's crew." Captain Dren replied simply, "We protect our crew." Admiral Stone nodded slowly. "Dr. Reeves has told me everything. How you found her. How you could have easily handed her over to save yourselves. How you chose to fight instead." He paused, studying each of us. "That kind of loyalty, it's rare in this galaxy." "We did what anyone would do," I said. The Admiral laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "No, Navigation Officer Tanner. You did what almost no one would do. You chose to protect a stranger at the cost of your own lives. That's not just rare. It's precious." Maya stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "These beings are heroes, Admiral. They saved my life, and they were willing to die to keep me safe." "I know," Admiral Stone said quietly, "and Earth remembers its debts." That's when he made the offer that would change everything. The Earth Defense Force would like to offer the crew of the Starlight Dancer full citizenship in the Terran Federation. Along with that comes protection, trade agreements, and, he smiled, a few other perks. Captain Dren blinked. "Citizenship for all of us, for all of you. And your families. And your extended families. And frankly, anyone you want to bring along." We thought it was just a nice gesture. A way for the humans to say thank you. We had no idea we'd just been handed the keys to the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy. 6 months later, I was standing on the observation deck of New Terra Station, watching human ships conduct training exercises. Captain Dren had retired to a nice farm on Earth's moon, and the rest of us had scattered to various corners of human space. But we stayed in touch. We were family now. That's when I met Colonel Sarah Mitchell, a human tactical officer who'd become something of a legend after the Battle of Proxima. She was studying the tactical data from our encounter with the Vrakken, trying to understand how we'd survived. "The Crazy Ivan maneuver," she said, shaking her head in amazement. "Dr. Reeves taught you that?" "She did. Said it was something from an old human movie." Sarah laughed. "The Hunt for Red October, classic. You know, that maneuver has been incorporated into our standard tactical training now. We're calling it the Reeves Gambit." "She'd be honored," I said. "Oh, she knows. She's teaching advanced tactical theory at the academy now. Apparently, spending time with the Korthani crew gave her some unique insights into multi-species combat coordination. We watched the ships dance through space, their movements precise and deadly. Human engineering, I'd learned, was a thing of beauty, efficient, effective, and utterly terrifying when pointed at your enemies." "Colonel," I said carefully. Can I ask you something? Shoot, why did your people go so far? I mean, we saved one human. You've given us citizenship, protection, trade deals. It seems excessive. Sarah turned to look at me, her expression serious. Vex, let me tell you something about humans. We have a saying, touch one of ours, and you touch all of us. But there's a flip side to that. Help one of ours, and you help all of us. What you and your crew did for Maya, that wasn't just about her. It was about proving that there are still good people in this galaxy. She gestured toward the ships. You see those crews out there? Half of them are human. Half are from species that have joined our Federation. You know what they all have in common? They've all chosen to stand together, to protect each other. Just like you protected Maya, I felt something warm in my chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. But here's the thing, Sarah continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. Word is spreading. About what you did, about how humans respond when someone shows kindness to one of our own. Other species are starting to pay attention. Is that good or bad? Depends on who's paying attention. 2 weeks later, I found out exactly what she meant. The hegemony had noticed. The hegemony was everything wrong with the galaxy rolled into one massive, oppressive empire. They conquered worlds, enslaved species, and crushed anyone who dared to resist. They'd been eyeing human space for years, but had never made a move because humans were too small, too isolated, too insignificant. That changed when the hegemony's intelligence network reported on our little rescue mission. Suddenly, humans weren't just another minor species. They were a species that inspired loyalty, that built alliances, that turned strangers into family. The hegemony's response was predictable. They decided to crush this threat before it could grow. Their first move was subtle. Economic pressure, trade sanctions, diplomatic isolation. They tried to turn the galaxy against the humans, painting them as dangerous expansionists who were building a military alliance to threaten established order. It might have worked, if not for one small problem. Every species the hegemony approached had heard the story of the Starlight Dancer. They'd heard how a Korthani crew had risked everything to save one human, and how Earth had responded with gratitude and friendship. The hegemony's diplomatic offensive fell flat. Species after species declined to join their anti-human coalition. Some even began reaching out to Earth directly, asking about this federation they'd heard about. That's when the hegemony decided on a more direct approach. They sent a battle fleet to conduct exercises near human space, just a show of force, they claimed, nothing threatening about it. Admiral Stone's response was swift and decisive. He sent a message to every species in the galaxy, broadcast on all frequencies. To all sentient beings, the hegemony has threatened human space and our allies. Any species that wishes to stand with us is welcome. Any species that wishes to remain neutral will be respected. But know this: an attack on one Federation member is an attack on all Federation members. Choose your side carefully. The response was immediate and overwhelming. 47 species formally joined the Federation in the next 72 hours. Another 112 declared their support. The Korthani government, naturally, was among the first to pledge their entire fleet to the cause. But the real surprise came from an unexpected source, the Vrakken. Korth Vex, the same pirate who'd tried to capture Maya months earlier, appeared on every major news network with a statement that stunned the galaxy. The hegemony thinks they can intimidate the humans? They've never faced humans in battle. I have. I've seen what they're capable of when they're protecting their own, and I've seen how they treat those who help them. He paused, his scarred face serious. The Vrakken syndicate stands with Earth. Even the pirates were picking sides. And they weren't picking the hegemony. The hegemony's war fleet, faced with a coalition that outnumbered them 3-1, quietly withdrew to their own space. The threat was over before it began. But the real victory wasn't military. It was what came after. The Federation Council met for the first time 6 months later on New Geneva Station. Representatives from over 300 species gathered to discuss trade, defense, and cooperation. The hegemony's attempt to destroy the human alliance had instead created the largest peaceful coalition in galactic history. I was there as a representative of the Korthani merchant guilds. Maya was there as Earth's ambassador to the Science Council. Admiral Stone was there as the Federation's supreme commander, and Captain Dren was there as the guest of honor. This is insane, I whispered to Maya during a break in the proceedings. One rescue mission started all this, she smiled. Not the rescue, Vex. The choice. You and your crew chose to do the right thing when it would have been easier to do the wrong thing. That choice echoed across the galaxy, but we didn't know it would lead to this. That's what made it meaningful. You didn't save me for political gain or strategic advantage. You saved me because it was right. And when humans saw that, well, we remember our friends. Captain Dren joined us, looking overwhelmed by the scope of what his simple decision had created. I still can't believe all this happened, because we wouldn't abandon a crew member. That's the thing about principles, Maya said. They have consequences. Sometimes small ones, sometimes, she gestured toward the massive station around us, filled with beings from across the galaxy. Sometimes galaxy-changing ones. The Federation would go on to become the dominant force for peace and cooperation in the known galaxy. The hegemony would eventually collapse under the weight of their own oppression, their former subjects fleeing to Federation space. Trade flourished. Exploration expanded. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy knew peace, all because a Korthani crew decided not to abandon their newest member. But that's not the end of the story. Because while the Federation was growing and the galaxy was changing, something else was happening. Something that would put everything we'd built to the ultimate test. The Devourers were coming. And that's when we learned the true meaning of human gratitude. The first reports came from the Outer Rim, entire star systems going dark. No distress calls, no survivors, no wreckage. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes your blood run cold and your tentacles curl up in terror. I was aboard the Federation flagship Harmony when Admiral Stone called the emergency council meeting. The main briefing room was packed with representatives from dozens of species, all looking like they'd seen a ghost, which, considering what we were about to learn, wasn't far from the truth. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings, Admiral Stone began, his voice carrying that familiar weight of bad news. We have a problem. A big one. The holographic display lit up, showing a map of the galaxy. Red zones marked the affected areas. There were a lot of red zones. 17 star systems have gone completely silent in the past month, Stone continued. Our scout ships have investigated 12 of them. What they found, he paused, running a hand through his graying hair. Well, let me put it this way. The planets are still there, everything else isn't. Ambassador Crix from the Altarian Republic raised one of his forearms. Define everything else. Admiral, life. All of it. Plants, animals, bacteria, even the organic compounds in the soil. Gone. Consumed. The planets look like they've been stripped clean by some kind of cosmic vacuum cleaner. The room erupted in panicked chatter. I felt my own heart skip a beat. Plural hearts. Because us Korthani need the backup when we hear news like this. Admiral, came a voice from the back. It was Dr. Elena Vasquez, the Federation's chief xenobiologist. The energy signatures we detected, they're unlike anything in our databases. But there are historical records, ancient ones, that describe something similar. Stone nodded grimly. Dr. Vasquez has been researching this. Elena, if you would. The doctor stood, her face pale but determined. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy has legends about them. The Eaters of Worlds. The Void Swarm. The Endless Hunger. Different names, same basic concept. It's a species that consumes all organic matter in their path, growing stronger with each world they devour. Legends, scoffed General Thok of the Regelian Defense Force. Fairy tales to scare children. Or fairy tales. Dr. Vasquez corrected. The archaeological evidence suggests they were real, and that they disappeared roughly 50,000 years ago, moving beyond the galactic rim into dark space. I felt a chill run down my spine. You're saying they've come back? That's exactly what I'm saying. The Devourers have returned. The silence that followed was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop in a vacuum. Admiral Stone stepped forward again. Our long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from the direction of the Andromeda Galaxy. ETA, 4 months. Fleet composition, unknown, but preliminary scans suggest we're looking at several million vessels. Several million. I nearly fainted. The entire Federation fleet numbered maybe 10,000 ships on a good day. What are our options? Asked Captain Ural of the Centauri Coalition. Fight or die, Stone said bluntly. The Devourers don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They consume everything in their path and move on. If we don't stop them here, they'll eat their way through the entire galaxy. But how do we fight something like that? Demanded Ambassador Crix. We're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. That's when Maya stood up. Dr. Maya Reeves, the human who'd started this whole mess by getting herself rescued by a Korthani cargo ship. She'd been quiet through the briefing, but now she had that look in her eyes, the same look she'd had when she suggested the crazy Ivan maneuver. We don't fight them ship to ship, she said calmly. We fight them smart. Explain. Admiral Stone said. Maya activated her personal holographic display. The Devourers are a hive mind. One consciousness controlling millions of bodies. That's their strength, but it's also their weakness. Cut off the head, and the body dies. She paused. The question is, how do we find the head? Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. The ancient records mention something called the Prime Devourer. The original consciousness that spawned all the others. If we could locate it. Big if, General Thought growled. And even if we found it, how do we get close enough to destroy it? It'll be protected by millions of ships, Maya smiled. That terrifying human smile that meant she was about to suggest something completely insane. We don't get close to it. We make it come to us. The plan she outlined was certifiably mad. We'd evacuate the outer colonies, fall back to a defensive line around the core worlds, and then do something no military strategist in their right mind would ever suggest, and we'd let the Devourers come to us. You want to use the Federation's most populated systems as bait? Ambassador Crix squeaked. Not bait, Maya corrected. Honey trap. The Devourers are drawn to large concentrations of organic matter. The bigger the prize, the more likely the Prime Devourer will come personally to claim it. And then what? I asked, already knowing I wasn't going to like the answer. Then we spring the trap. The next 4 months were a blur of frantic preparation. Every shipyard in Federation space worked around the clock, building new vessels and retrofitting old ones. The Korthani contributed their expertise in shield technology. The Altarians provided their advanced sensor arrays. The Rigelians brought their heavy weapons. Even the Vrakken pirates pitched in, offering their knowledge of unconventional tactics. But the real miracle was what happened on Earth. I was there when the first human volunteer ship arrived at the Sol system. The captain, a grizzled veteran named Rex Murphy, had brought his entire crew. We heard you needed ships, he said simply. We brought what we could. What he'd brought was a converted cargo hauler armed with mining lasers and jury-rigged armor plating. It looked like it would fall apart if you sneezed on it. Captain Murphy, Admiral Stone said gently, this isn't a cargo run. This is a fight against the most dangerous enemy the galaxy has ever seen. Murphy grinned. Admiral, these aliens saved one of ours. That makes this personal. He wasn't alone. Over the next few weeks, human ships arrived from every corner of Federation space. Military vessels, cargo haulers, passenger liners, even private yachts. Some were state-of-the-art warships. Others were held together with prayer and duct tape. But they all had one thing in common. They were crewed by humans who remembered what the Federation had done for Maya Reeves, and what a Korthani crew had done before that. The Devourers arrived right on schedule. The first wave hit the outer defense perimeter like a tsunami of death. Our scout ships barely had time to transmit sensor data before they were consumed. I was on the bridge of the Starlight Dancer. Yes, the same ship where this all started. Captain Dren had come out of retirement for this fight, and he'd insisted on his old crew. We were part of the bait fleet. Positioned near Earth's outer colonies, sensors picking up multiple contacts, reported our new navigation officer, a young human named Tom Bradley. Make that A lot of contacts. The main screen lit up with thousands of red dots, then tens of thousands. Then hundreds of thousands. Sweet merciful stars, whispered Grix Hollow. Our medic. There are so many of them. The Devourer ships were unlike anything we'd ever seen. Organic-looking vessels that seemed to pulse and writhe like living things. Which, I suppose, they were. All ships. This is Admiral Stone, came the voice over the comm. Execute withdrawal pattern Alpha. Lead them toward the inner system. We ran. Not because we were cowards, but because running was the plan. The Devourers followed, just as Maya had predicted. They consumed the outer colonies, growing stronger with each world they devoured, but as they pushed deeper into the system, something unexpected happened. The human civilian ships, the ones everyone had dismissed as useless, began their own part of the plan. They rammed the Devourer ships, not all at once. One at a time in carefully coordinated strikes. Each ramming attack was designed to look desperate, accidental. But they weren't accidents at all. They were precise surgical strikes, targeting specific Devourer vessels that our scientists had identified as command nodes. Captain Murphy's cargo hauler was the first to go. He took out a Devourer command ship twice his size, his final transmission a simple, "Tell Maya this one's for her." The pattern repeated across the system, human civilians sacrificing themselves to take out key Devourer assets. To the enemy, it looked like random acts of desperation. But each strike weakened the hive mind's ability to coordinate its massive fleet. That's when the Prime Devourer made its move. The thing was massive, easily the size of a small moon, covered in writhing tentacles and pulsing with malevolent energy. It moved toward Earth like a slow-motion apocalypse, consuming everything in its path. Phase 2, Admiral Stone announced. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. The real Federation fleet, hidden behind Earth's moon, erupted into space. But we weren't heading for the Prime Devourer. We were heading for the massive swarm of ships protecting it. What followed was the largest space battle in galactic history. Federation ships dancing between Devourer vessels, using Maya's unconventional tactics to stay one step ahead of their enemies. The Korthani shields held against impossible odds. The Altarian sensors tracked targets through the chaos. The Regellian weapons carved through enemy hulls like hot knives through butter. But we were still outnumbered. For every Devourer ship we destroyed, 2 more took its place. That's when Phase 3 began. Earth's moon opened up like a flower. What we'd thought was a natural satellite was actually a massive hollow structure, filled with the most powerful weapon ever constructed. In a planet killer that had been built in secret over the past 4 months, using technology contributed by every species in the Federation. The weapon fired once. A beam of pure energy that lanced across space and struck the Prime Devourer dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive creature began to convulse. Its tentacles thrashed wildly as the hive mind connection severed. All across the battlefield, Devourer ships suddenly went dark, their crews cut off from the controlling consciousness. But the Prime Devourer wasn't dead. Wounded, maybe, but not dead. It began to regenerate, its massive form healing itself even as we watched. It's not working. Someone shouted over the comm, "The thing's too strong." That's when Maya's voice cut through the chatter. All human ships. This is Dr. Reeves. Execute Protocol 7. Protocol 7. I'd never heard of it, but apparently every human ship in the fleet had. What happened next still gives me nightmares. Every human vessel in the fleet, military and civilian alike, activated their self-destruct sequences and rammed the Prime Devourer simultaneously. Hundreds of ships, thousands of human lives, all sacrificed in a single coordinated strike. The explosions lit up space like a new star. When the light faded, the Prime Devourer was gone. Just gone. Along with every human ship that had participated in the attack. The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of alien sobbing. Every species in the Federation had lost friends that day, but the humans had lost everything, or so we thought. All ships. This is Admiral Stone. Phase 4 is complete, beginning recovery operations. Recovery operations? We'd just watched the entire human fleet commit suicide. What was there to recover? The answer came from Earth itself. Hidden bunkers opened across the planet's surface, revealing escape pods, thousands of them. Each one containing a human crew member who'd been secretly evacuated before the final attack. "Did you really think we'd sacrifice our people without giving them a way out?" Admiral Stone asked when I questioned him later. "The ships were automated for the final run. Every human crew member was safely evacuated before the attack. But how did you coordinate it without the Devourers detecting the deception?" He smiled. "Maya's idea. She figured out that the hive mind couldn't distinguish between automated systems and living crews. As long as the ships acted like they were crewed, the Devourers never suspected. The cleanup operation took months. Devourer ships, cut off from their controlling intelligence, were easily mopped up by the surviving Federation forces. The galaxy was safe, but the cost had been enormous. Entire star systems lay in ruins. Billions of beings had died, but we rebuilt. We always do." The memorial service was held on New Geneva Station, exactly 1 year after the battle. Representatives from every Federation species attended, along with the crews of the ships that had survived the fight. I stood with Captain Dren and the surviving members of the Starlight Dancer crew, watching as Admiral Stone spoke about sacrifice and friendship and the bonds that hold civilizations together. "We gathered today to remember those who gave their lives to save the galaxy," he said. "But we also gathered to celebrate what they died for. The idea that different species can stand together, that strangers can become family. That a single act of kindness can echo across the stars." Maya stood up to speak last. She looked older now, marked by the weight of command and the loss of so many friends. "A year ago, I was dying alone in space," she began. "A Korthani crew found me and chose to save me, even though it put them in danger. That choice started a chain reaction that ultimately saved the galaxy." She paused, looking out at the assembled beings. "But it wasn't really about me. It was about the choice to do what's right, even when it's hard, even when it costs you everything." She gestured toward a new monument being constructed outside the station. "This memorial isn't just for the humans who died in the battle. It's for everyone who chose to stand together when the galaxy needed them most. Korthani, Altarian, Rigelian, even Vrakken. We all made the same choice our ancestors made in that cargo hold a year ago. We chose to protect our family." Later, as the ceremony wound down, I found myself standing on the observation deck with Maya and Admiral Stone, watching the construction crews work on the memorial. "Do you think it's over?" I asked. "Really over? The Devourers?" "Yes," Stone replied. "But there will be other threats. There always are. And we'll face them together," Maya added. "All of us. Because that's what families do." I looked out at the stars, thinking about the strange journey that had brought us all here. A simple rescue mission that had become the foundation of the greatest alliance in galactic history. "You know what the funny thing is?" I said. "We almost didn't stop for you. Captain Dren was behind schedule, and picking up strays isn't exactly profitable." Maya laughed. "What changed his mind? You did. Or rather, the fact that you were still fighting. Most beings would have given up in that situation, but you were still trying to survive, still looking for a way out. Dren said anyone with that much fight in them deserved a chance. And now," I gestured toward the memorial, where crews from dozens of species were working side by side. "Now we're all still fighting. Just together this time." The Federation went on to become the greatest force for peace and prosperity the galaxy had ever known. We explored new worlds, made contact with distant civilizations, and slowly but surely made the universe a better place for everyone. And it all started because a Korthani cargo captain decided not to abandon a stranded human. Sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest consequences. Sometimes helping one person helps everyone. And sometimes, just sometimes, doing the right thing really does make all the difference. The humans taught us that. And we'll never forget.